Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel BFG Woodworking. Today we've got a little bit of a how-to and a slight review of this little product, the Jointmaster from Milescraft Doweling jig. I've used it quite a bit. I personally think overall it's really good, but a few people don't actually know how to use it properly or if it's worth buying. So what I'm going to do today is just show you the good, the bad and the ugly. I will make a few joints at the same time. Not them sort of joints. Dowel joints. So, if you want to join me on this, keep watching. Let's crack on.
Fun. I smell the blood of an Englishman.
Alright, so let's see what we get in the box. I'll just show you what you get in the box. Maybe some little optional extras you may want to get. And then we'll move on to how this works and how to set it all up. So what you actually get in there is 3 different collet sizes. You get 6mm collet size, 8mm, and a 10mm. They're just your little drill collets for your guides for drilling out your holes. You get this little bag. In here we've got a center finder and some spacing blocks for the 6 and 8mm dowels. We'll go through what they're used for a bit later on. And finally, you get the jig itself. Again, we'll show you how that works later on in the video so you know how to orientate this for whatever joint you're making. Now, the couple optional extras I think is worth getting with this jig after using it is the center finder they give you is relatively small. So I opted for their bigger version. Wasn't that expensive. Which means I can use it on some wider boards, finding the center of that. I did also go for the little bucket of dowels. Yeah, a few different sizes in there, so that pretty much covers most joints that you'll do. The only thing you don't get in here is the 10mm, so you have to get them separately. And then these are stop collars for your brad point drill bits. I've got a 6mm and 8mm, just because they're primarily what I'll be using with this jig. All they do is go around your drill, you screw them tight, then you can stop your depth or whatever desired depth you need. And then to make your layouts and your joints, you'll just need a drill, some brad points, a Phillips and a flathead screwdriver. That flathead's only if you buy the stop collars. And just a layout square. Alright, let's start having a look at this jig here and how that works and the different configurations you can have for making your joints. Right, let's just have a look at these bits here. So, this is your jig. You've got 3 parts of this jig. You've got your clamp. This is removable. You've got your fence, which is also removable. And then you've got your main body here. This has a couple of features. These bits are for when you're doing surface jointing, but we'll show you that a bit later on. These, if you call it, to slip into, and then the screws go down into this track here, and you clamp it down by just tightening the screws. Obviously, you can adjust this, whatever desired thickness you need, just to find your center. They've got a little bit of a measuring scale on here. On your actual collets, as you can see, they've put some handy center lines on either side. So when you use your center marker on the side of your piece of wood, you can line them up, get it perfect. So what you get on the fence is these repeatable stops. Get them on both sides. So you just unscrew, fold down, lock it down. So if you're doing repeatable cuts to the same size stock, once it's in the fence, you can butt your workpiece up against that. Then you know you're going to be in the same position every single cut. And then you've got your screw clamp. Everything is removable and adjustable, just with a Phillips head. So you've got 2 screws for your clamp to stay on, 2 screws under here to take your fence off, And obviously you got your Phillips screws there for each collet that you want to use. That's it. Nothing too complicated. The complicated thing about this is just which orientation to have your 3 parts in for whatever joint you're making. I mean, luckily, Milescraft do put the configuration in for your 3 most common joints you want to make. So your corner joints, which way to have that, surface joints, and then your edge joints. So you can work it out with that, but I'll show you how to do it. What we'll start with first is your edge joint. So what you see here is everything you need to do just a 90-degree simple butt joint. All right, just got your jig itself in this configuration. 6mm collet. If you're doing 8, 10mm, whatever, just need your collet. Corresponding brad points, a 6mm brad point for this. 2 dowels, or 3, whichever way you want to do it. I'm doing 2. Your centre finder, Phillips head screwdriver to get everything adjusted. And obviously, if you decided to go with your stop collar, just your stop collar and your screwdriver to loosen and tighten that up. The first thing we need to do is find the centre of our board. Once we've got the centre, we can then install the collet. And once it's in there, these then run up and down this track to get your desired centre, whichever that may be. Just measure the thickness of your stop. I've decided to pick one annoyingly that's 21mm. So there's a nice 1/2 mil centre bit there. And then on your jig, set it for half that distance. So I've gone as close as near as damn it to 10.5mm. Pretty much. Now, I would recommend is tighten these screws up, but just leave it loose enough that you can just sort of micro adjust it. And then, but without it moving backwards and forwards once you let go. And then tighten it down. And just make sure both sides are reading. Let's see if I can show you that a little bit better. You get your center point, put up against that fence, and you can see if your line there matches, which it does. So what I'm going to utilize in this, just to make life easier, is I'm going to utilize the little fence stops here. So what I'm going to do first is drop this one down. Drop it down, lock it in place. Now this one, I can then butt up against, firm as you like. Screw it down. And then what we want to do is set our depth. What I like doing is just dropping my drill bit in there. Now these 6mm dowels are 30mm long. These ones here. And if you've got some setup blocks, makes your life a lot easier. But you can just use a ruler or tape measure, square, whichever. Just going to drop them on there. Drop that down. I know that's going to plunge in half distance. Depending on if you want to clamp this up, you can do. I think it's quite steady as it is. Let's drill a hole. There's your 2 holes. We can put that up closer, straight up against that fence. Screw it down. Now I've got quite a long bit here. I should really cut these down. Pop your dowels in. Obviously, if you're gluing this up, add your glue then. Get them in there. You see that? Clamp that up, bit of glue. You're good to go. So now, if you wanted to do that same style joint, but say in the middle of a board, what you need to do is, one, you can still utilize the fence on this. What you want to do is lay your workpiece on, make sure it's straight, mark one side, mark the other, and then with your fence, just get that in, and then see if you can see that. Get this a bit closer for you. You see your line? Just line that up with your fence. There. And then tighten it down. Then you can drill your holes. Plop your dowels in. And then there you have it. Perfectly lined up mid joint. Simple and easy as that. Alright, the next one we're going to look at is the surface joint. That is this one here. So first thing, I'm going to drill my dowels for the end of the short stock, save me having to wield that long one about. So again, I'm just going to utilize the stops. Alright. Now this is where things change from the last one. You're going to need to put your dowels in. And then lay out whereabouts on your board you're going to want this. So let's say I want it there. Just again, make sure it's straight. And then mark your piece on your board. We're going to have to dismantle this and change the configuration a little bit. So, don't want to change that because that's the center of our boards. We do want to take the clamp off. That comes off. And so does the fence. Alright. So all you need is this plate here. Now what this does is you've got these marks on here. You've got 6, 8 and 10. So ensuring that your boards are parallel on top of each other, just slide that in to the 6mm dowel you've already put in. And then you need to have a look at the top. Just slide that to one of your layout lines. Which is so the furthest layout line away needs to be in line with this front edge. I'm going to clamp it to my workbench. Looks good. Drill some holes. Now obviously if your thickness of your material is less than 15 mil, you're going to have to adjust your depth so it goes deeper into this piece than your surface piece. Take that out. Clear it out. Plop it in. There you go. Surface joint. Simple. You can do that anywhere up and down your stock. I mean, other than the faff of having to unscrew all your fence and stuff, it's a simple procedure with great results. So the final joint we're going to make is the corner joint. Now this one again has two different configurations for your Jointmaster. But first thing we need to do is do some marking out. The reason I'm doing that, again, see if you can see, just on the inside you've got these 3 grooves. That is the center for each of your dowel holes there. So we'll need to utilize them when it comes to this bit. But first thing needs to be this configuration to do your edge. See if I can do this with the camera so you can see. There is actually one that goes down the side of your dowel collet as well, just so you can make sure they're perfectly in line. So we'll do that for all 3. Now this one, we need to change where the clamp is. So this clamp changes to this side. Next thing is I need to transfer our layout lines over to the other side. So you need to do is then put this in the way you want your dowels. Now you might be able to see that a bit better with the red. I'm just going to clamp this down just so it stays put, and I'm just going to micro adjust it until we're in the center of that one. Once we're in, push it down, firmly clamp it down. There we go. Drill it out. And there we have it, all 3 drilled out. So let's plop my dowels in. Hopefully I haven't messed out being so close out of the dowel hole. There you have it. Corner joint. Perfectly square. Alright, so the final thing I just want to run through is these spacer blocks. So what these are is they are pre-measured center points for what they call common thicknesses. So if I just get this up here, you can see one side says 12, the other side says 14. So that's your thickness of your board. Then you've got on this one 18 and 15. Say you've got a 12 mil, you plop these in your dowel holes there, unscrew, and then you can push that up against there and tighten it down. And what that's saying, you'll be perfectly on 6 mil. So you don't have to measure it out, faff about, you can just pop that in, butt it up against your fence, and then you've got accurate centers. So that's what they're for. Right, so I hope that little tutorial there helped you out. It took me a bit of time to figure it all out, making sure it's accurate, because there isn't really much out there in the way of explaining how it's done. Hopefully that has helped you guys out in understanding how it works, how to make your joints. If you do have any questions, anything that you think I've missed, please drop a comment below. I'll happily try and answer them as best I can for you. Now, if you want my honest opinion of this, this is worth every penny in my opinion. It's so easy to use. Once you get used to the configurations and best ways to clamp it, marking it, that sort of thing, it's a doddle. It's an absolute doddle. I was very intimidated with joinery. All you do is see people using dominoes. That's like £1,600, a fraction of the cost. And once you've got it in the right configuration, it takes seconds to do. Absolute seconds. Downsides, I can only see a couple. One is unscrewing and screwing. That's just time consuming. But if you're like me, you just do the occasional work. You might need this occasionally. That's not really much time to be taken out. Obviously, if you're bashing out loads of stuff, probably not the right jig for you unless you were doing the same joints all the time. You could leave it in one configuration. The marking lines, the center lines, probably a little bit thick. Probably could have done with a thinner line because we work with pencils, not felt tips. So I think there could be, however minute, a little bit of error just getting your center bits with how thick the lines are in there. But overall, great bit of kit from Milescraft. Once again, I'm a huge fan of theirs. I haven't been paid or anything to do this. This is nothing to do with Milescraft. I just got a couple of comments when I was using it on a different project saying, can you do a how-to? This is what I'm doing. And I'm just giving you my honest feedback for a woodworker to make strong, accurate joints like this. Can't go wrong. Honestly, give it a try. It'll change the way you do things. If you have liked this, you've got anything out of it, please subscribe to my channel. It really helped me out. And I thank you very much for your time.